Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast.
Coming to you from SideQuest Studios, this is the Simpsons Index, episode 164. Hello out there, I'm your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill, and joining me in the studio here as always, except when he's not, BT Calloway.
Hoi hoi.
And joining us all the way from South Australia, from Baby Beard Media, is Ellen.
Hello, how we doing?
Doing good. Thank you very much for joining us today. And this, of course, is The Simpsons Index, a podcast where we watch and review 3 episodes of The Simpsons at a time, but there's a twist. Each episode must come from a different decade. Today, we've got a bit of a theme going on. We're sort of looking at the evolution of Lisa's character.
By going backwards.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, thank you, Ellen, very much for joining us for this episode where we're going to get our way to Elisa the vegetarian, but first we must go via the HD era with the similarly named episode, season 27, episode 15, Lisa the veterinarian.
Can I just say, I almost had a heart attack you saying Lisa the vegetarian then, because I was like, oh fuck, I'm sure I double checked it 1 billion times just to make sure that we were doing Lisa the veterinarian, not Lisa the vegetarian. But yeah.
I keep getting you on for these similarly named episodes, like recently had you on for Holidays of Future Past and Days of Future Future.
It's like I have anxiety.
You monster, Elliot.
But no, Lisa the veterinarian. This one, first released in March of 2016, directed by Stephen Dean Moore, written by Futurama alum Dan Weber.
Dan Weber. Oh,
Dan
how
Weber.
wonderful.
I like to imagine he's a vampire. Dan Weber. What?
Or he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
My boat was ripped. Blah.
In this episode, Lisa becomes a veterinarian and Lisa becomes a vet. And in the B story, Mum? Oh my God.
Freudian slip much?
Is she not all of our mums?
God, I felt like when I called the teacher Mum. That's...
Oh,
my
God.
face.
I'm so going to make fun of you at recess.
Don't.
Technically, she's mom. Or
Mom.
Mom.
Ma'am.
Not Mom.
Mom.
Marge becomes a crime cleanup lady. Hey, what'd we think?
I had a few chuckles in this episode.
Yeah.
Like there was literally a bit where it's only because it taps into my worst fucking fear, but I literally gasped. I was like,
She gasped.
Yeah, because leaving an animal alone and forgetting it and letting it wither away to neglect is like one of my biggest fears. Like I've had dreams about it. I mean, I have a rabbit now,
Yeah.
but even still sometimes, like, I guess it's the kind of thing about being a pet owner. You're always just like, oh my God, did I forget this? Or did I forget this? Or is he eating well? What's he thinking?
It is one of my recurring nightmares, actually, like forgetting that I was put in charge of family pets that I had like over a decade ago. And her have long since been dead, and I've still have these recurring nightmares. Oh crap, I was looking after them this weekend.
I'm naked at school and I forgot to feed the dogs. And wait a second.
And I just called the teacher Mom.
Yeah, that actually happened to me once. Not neglecting an animal, but I had a dog sitting job.
Oh yeah.
I think it had been like a stressful week and whatever. And for some reason, I just got it into my head that it was like the 20th of that month. And it was like on the 23rd that I was like, am I meant to be looking after the dogs? Oh my God. And like, I literally just, as soon as I finished work, like drove straight there. I probably, look, no cops caught me, but I was probably not doing the speed limit. Yeah, managed to get there and the house is locked up and everything. And I'm like, I'm a fucking idiot. Why didn't I just ring the owner? Oh my God. And it was like an hour away as well. So like up in fucking Whoop Whoop and in the hills. And so I just like drove like a bat out of hell to this dog sitter place. And it was not needed until the next month.
Oh,
so remember to have your diary on you so you can double check it for things like this instead of having vague random notes in your phone.
That's okay because, speeding is allowed when there's a dog in jeopardy.
I would think so, right? I mean, if I told an officer that and he said, no, you're still going to jail, well, heaven have mercy on his soul, And I am saying his. I am being sexist here.
Yeah, well, let's hook into this episode. BT, for better or worse, what stands out to you?
I mean, this episode sure did exist. So this being an episode about, vets and things and medical procedures, having recently completed my first aid certificate again, I can tell you that that's not how you do CPR. That's not how defibrillation works, but that is how an EpiPen works. So nice.
Yes, but would it work on an animal, I ask? Surely.
What am I, a vet?
You didn't do your first aid course in vet.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I have seen charts on how to do CPR on a dog, but I'm just like, how do you put your mouth over their mouth? Completely different shapes. Anyway, right into me.
Close the jaw, go through the nose.
Oh.
Oh.
Ew. Dog snot.
With a mask if you have one.
Vets really are the MVPs. They will do that for your dog. So just let's give a little moment to the vets out there.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to all our vet friends.
We've got to have one out there.
At least, statistically.
And our crime scene cleaner friends.
Oh, yes, especially you people. Enjoy that drink at night. You've earned it.
Clip your little booze light on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, like Lisa doing CPR on the raccoon, the thing that actually worked was the slap across the face.
Ah.
Which step of Doctor's ABCD was that?
S.
Oh.
For slap. Along with a dramatic, "Don't you die on me, you son of a bitch!"
Oh my gosh.
They teach you dramatic readings in first aid.
Oh, thank goodness.
St. John's are really bringing it. That's awesome. How about you, Ellen? What's something that stands out to you from this episode for better or worse?
Even though I had a lot of little things that I liked in it, the thing that stands out to me is just a one-liner that really falls flat. And I think it's indicative of just how much dead space and dead weight there is in this episode. It's like before she goes into the vet, Lisa kind of exclaims like, "Oh, this job would be heaven." And then she needs to restrain the ferret so that it can restart its stink glands. Mm-hmm. And then after that happens, she just goes, "Heaven. Ew," when it starts to stink. But it was just such a nothing line, and it took up so much time to get there.
Yeah.
There were lots of moments in this episode that just really took out a lot of steam from what could otherwise be some really cool ideas and really cool concepts and ways to push the characters.
And especially because that one was an act break joke as well. And I know, ad break jokes don't really have the impact that they once did, but you still get the dark screen and a little bit of a fade in, and you know when they're sort of segmenting the episode. And they do it then, and I agree, it totally falls flat. And later on, the second act break was, "That's my patient."
Oh,
you know, when the goat's running around destroying, and it's so, 80s sitcom-y, especially the delivery, "That's my patient."
Yeah. And it's just sad because there are some kind of funny setups or funny jokes hidden throughout, but it was just it just really felt like kind of homework, laboring to get to them.
Yeah.
You know what I just realized? Neither story resets to 0. Lisa still works there, and Marge is still a crime cleaner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's the part of the story that stands out to me as the Marge storyline, which...
Such potential.
So much potential.
Yeah, it's a really funny premise.
And I felt like the scenes that they had there were right and fine and had the right character beats, but I felt like it was missing at least 2 or 3 scenes.
Whereas it could have really fit in well with Marge being a really good cleaner.
Have it be that burden of being good at something you don't like doing, but that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, also it's there's a podcast I listen to called The Cleaning of John Doe, which is from a crime scene cleaner. And it's a very emotional job as well. Families and people are relying on you to carry this emotional burden.
Yeah.
So, I feel like there could have been a really interesting hook here for Marge. It makes sense, Lisa wanting to be a vet because she loves animals, but it was just I feel like you could have finessed this a lot more.
Yeah.
Finesse. I think that's the word that it's missing because, you need that scene of Marge being traumatized because when she was drinking in bed, that scene didn't really feel earned, especially with the jokiness of looking around the previous crime scene to find a clean apartment except for organs falling from the roof. It felt a bit too jokey for the setup of the next scene.
Yeah, especially because, the whole thing is she walks in this crime scene, looks around, there's no problem, then stuff starts dripping from the ceiling. She's like, "I'll just clean this tape." It doesn't imply that she then worked on the scene itself.
Yeah, and it's still The Simpsons. You don't want it to get too morbid or dark or whatever, but this is the road they walk down, and it's like,
Yeah.
This is the plot line they've given her. Give her the plot line.
I mean, we also had Homer with PTSD after remembering finding that corpse in the dam. So you can do this in really honest ways and follow the kind of character through the journey that you set up for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
She even has a line where, Homer reminds her of a bloated corpse that she was cleaning.
I didn't mind that.
Which is quite funny. But it's like that, you clean up organs and the detritus of life, and yet you have to be surrounded by life all the time and let it not affect you, even though people around you are just giblets waiting to happen.
No, definitely. And I think, there was more of a parallel that they could have drawn with Lisa and, her vet job, which, I don't know, I thought it should have dealt with more trauma on the job. It seemed like a very easy vet practice to work for.
Yeah, I mean, very easy plotline to have her, unable to save someone else's animal, and she's only ever been around animals that survived, and now she has to deal with, sometimes they die and you got to keep working.
Yeah.
Which I got to give the story credit where it's due, where Nibbles is something they set up at the beginning, brought it back to the end, and dovetailed Marge's and Lisa's storyline. So a couple of points in that favor, but it didn't feel super satisfying.
No, it just felt like a first draft to me.
The bones are there.
There's all these little bits that I'm like, oh, interesting. Oh, that's a funny gag or blah, blah, blah. But just how it's all strung together just felt really unsatisfying.
No, definitely. And just 1 second. I am so sorry, guys. I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. I mean, fair.
Classic Elliot. With
All
what
right.
toilet paper, Elliot?
I know, we're good for toilet paper. We're fine. We're all set.
No, you go. We'll keep it running.
Keep this podcast so... Don't know what to call this corner.
The BT and Ellen.
Yeah.
The BTE.
Hey, okay.
Hey.
Now we're getting somewhere. Let's break and enter into something.
I mean, there's not even fashion corner because
No. They all had winter clothing on instead of their usual character models, so I assume that might come into it, but...
I mean, I don't even remember their swimsuits. Marge is dressed terribly for her job.
Yeah, true.
Where's the PPE? Where you can't... Organs are falling from the ceiling, Marge.
You can't wear a strapless green dress for that. That's insane.
No.
Need a clean suit at least, if not overalls.
And she's got like a nice little jacket on. I mean, the bandana's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
But fuck me.
And there were plenty of scenes where Lisa wasn't wearing gloves. So maybe this is Ellen's PPE corner. Wink.
Wear PPE, you fucks, and wash your hands.
Yeah.
I didn't see any hand washing.
He's back.
Okay.
That's all right. We were just doing personal protective... What's the E in PPE? Equipment corner. In that no one's wearing any.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Irresponsible. Just a complete violation of OH&S.
I mean, it's also very irresponsible to have an 8-year-old inject something into a dog.
I used to do that all the time for my dog, actually.
I did enjoy the line of, you've got to inject him exactly. 1 millimeter either way will not make a difference at all.
No.
Yeah. Because, I had a diabetic dog, so you just had to grab, the scruff of her neck and, just poke through and just give her an old syringe full of insulin.
Was that traumatizing at all, or did you get used to it?
Oh, it was, worrying at first because, I don't want to hurt her, but, the skin's so thick there that, she barely noticed.
Yeah, because, that's the thing. When I was a kid, people would always ask, oh, are you going to become a vet? Because I was just so gonzo for animals. I just love them. But I'm like, fuck no. Are you kidding me? That means that most of my job is going to be high stress involving life or death of these animals. And even if it is okay at the end, a lot of these times you still have to hurt them. Whether or not the animal is under anesthetic and conscious or not, I would have to possibly break bones or saw them open or blah, 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 blah. And it's it takes a lot of distancing yourself from the situation to be able to get past, I am cutting through a living creature right now,
Yeah. I had a friend who was studying to be a vet and just sort of doing some volunteer work just to see if it's something she wanted to do, and had to, what is it called, release the anal glands once, and
oh gosh,
dog didn't like it, she didn't like it.
No one likes it.
And the vet laughed.
Oh, gosh. Yep, that's a juicy subject.
Yeah. So, play count. Have you seen this episode before, BT?
No.
Ellen?
Hell no.
This is only my second time watching it. I generally haven't watched most of, like, post 26 more than once. So, like, because this probably came out at around the time we started doing the podcast.
Oh, really?
Almost 4 years ago now.
Wow.
Let's all have a flashback to then. My, those harps are pleasant.
Ellen on the flashback harps.
You got it. Hey, that's why I brought this whole big harp into the recording space.
I was wondering.
So, on the Simpsons Index, we like to explore, the balance that Simpsons hit between wackiness and heart. So, was this a particularly wacky episode of The Simpsons?
I think it was fairly wacky.
I mean, there's enough of that corpse on the ceiling for a full foot and a heart to fall down. So I have questions, but that's not impossible.
Yeah. And also you've got boozy Australian and meth mum on a taser.
Boozy Australian is a very high setting.
Oh, man. But also low here.
Yeah. We embarrass ourselves on vacation.
Oh, don't we? Stop it.
Yeah, I mean, the intro bit with, the water park and all that was due for some wackiness, but I thought it was more subdued.
Yes.
Clever.
Well done, sparkling wordplay there. I do want to point out that Ralph gets stuck in a tube or something like that and then gets ejected out, and when he gets thrown out, he says, "I saw heaven." This extends the theory that Ralph is the next incarnation of Buddha, because no one revives him. He apparently dies and sees heaven, but no one is there to actually revive him from death. So he just revived himself.
Wow.
Or he reincarnated as Ralph.
These are things to think about.
Well, in the episodes, the Future Jump ones that you reviewed with us, Ellen, we saw, cloning Ralph technology in the future has just gone out of hand.
I wanted
So
to
maybe
forget
it's
that.
already happened, yeah.
Yeah. Have we already started seeing cloning Ralph?
What number Ralph is this?
Yeah, I gotta say, this was just, another disappointing Ralph for me this episode. We saw you on the picture radio. I don't know. They just don't write dumb Ralph good anymore.
Yeah.
Dumb Ralph,
Yeah.
no good.
What was some other wackiness that stood out to you guys?
When Lisa kind of revives Mr. Teeny and then he just shoots all the salsa into Krusty's mouth and then Krusty passes out, I do like that Mr. Teeny just bolts.
But it does a good misdirection where you think Teeny's going to jump on his chest, but he jumps on the couch and heads out the window, then comes back with the seltzer bottle and just smacks him in the head.
Yeah, it was a good thunk as well.
Oh, very good foley on that thunk.
Yeah.
We're usually criticizing the sound design of Simpsons.
Oh, yeah. And this one too, it's very silent.
Yeah.
There were a few things that, I don't know, someone must have brought it up in the writing room because it is so specific. And I can relate to, the water park of Bart getting Lisa's hair wet before I wanted to get it wet. There's always that moment where you're like, okay, when do I submerge my full body under the water? And it's you want it to come, around halfway. So
Yeah.
you don't have wet hair the
I'll
whole
do it later,
time.
but when I'm ready.
I'll do it later after we've taken some pictures. And then Lisa very excitedly relaying this story to Marge about how she saved the raccoon and how she felt this thrill and blah, 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 blah. And then Marge she talks about the traffic or something. And Lisa just goes, well, that ends the moment being about me.
Yeah.
So me and my mum, I'll be like, oh yeah, and our podcast company is doing this, blah, blah. And my mum's like, yeah, should I get more capsicum? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't live with you. Fucking hell. I was trying to do something here.
Because, this hasn't been a typical HD era episode for me. There is a lot of these relatable moments peppered throughout. And it's just, that the start and end were just sort of a bit stale for me.
Yeah.
It's like a good egg salad sandwich on stale bread.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like you are.
But also, that's not quite how sandwiches work. And we talk a lot about sandwiches. You eat the whole thing. Do you eat the bread, then the filling, then the bottom bread?
Oh, yeah.
Is that how you eat sandwiches, Elliot? Because I don't know if we can still be roommates if you do. I feel very uncomfortable.
I eat them vertically.
Thank God I'm 1.5 meters away from you.
Technically.
The other wacky moment I wanted to mention, and this is a joke that I liked that I think they just went the extra beat too long on, which was, Homer, stop eating the chili out of the colander. And just it dripping on Homer
Yeah.
as he's eating. It was such a great visual. But then
That
he goes,
was nice.
Marge, it's called a calendar.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, you had it.
You had it and you lost it all.
Like, surely it should be a line about why he's using the colander or like something.
Or
Yeah.
just the visual. I
Yeah.
think that was the joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, what?
It's a great visual because it's disgusting.
And how about the other side of it? How about the heart of the episode? Did you feel the bumps?
The egg salad of this episode.
Yes. The beating, pulsating egg salad.
How do you people eat egg salad sandwiches? I'm confused and scared. I'm picturing eggs with pulses. Ah.
That's a chick, we call it.
True.
I didn't feel a lot of heart from this episode. I mean, it had the setup for it and it had me all primed, but I just didn't care about a lot of it. And even the whole kind of emotional thing culminating in Marge and Lisa, Marge being there for Lisa when she's really upset, just didn't feel earned.
Yeah.
And you can kind of tell because they haven't, apart from the start of this episode, they haven't been in contact at all. They haven't spoken about these different jobs. Their paths haven't been similar, so it's not like a like mother, like daughter thing. And when they're hugging it out, they're both speaking dialogue pertaining to their specific situation, but just talking over each other.
Yeah.
Which is just like, you're not even listening to each other. And it's just like, yeah, it just felt really, really unearned. So
That's a fair point, because there's no point where, after the initial setup, where they intersect. Like, surely there should be a bit where Lisa's all excited, talking about, I saved this today, and I helped this animal do this, and Marge is like, everything dies in the end. What does it matter, sweetie?
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's the path both of them are on. Lisa's there to preserve life, and Marge is dealing with people at the end of it. And it's, the fact they don't have any relation to each other, makes that ending just, okay, this is done now.
Yeah, and it could have been nice to see them kind of intersect and team up throughout this episode. Like, what if Marge brought in an organ for Lisa to like practice on, and Lisa's like, this feels different from like a cow heart, and Marge is like,
You'll learn, sweetie, whatever.
yeah,
We're all just meat. Because the whole resolution for Marge is, I know what makes me feel alive again, looking after my children. It's like, you have 3 and one of them is a baby. Pretty
Yeah.
sure that one needs you. So
Oh, yeah.
it's a bit weird to, they don't need you enough for you to realize, okay, sure, whatever.
Yeah, and Ellen, you mentioning before the scene with Lisa going, and the story's not about me anymore. Like, I'd forgotten that happened, and it's like, they were going to set up this sort of divide that they didn't really carry through enough, and I feel like, things like the ceiling fan and, Bart and Homer were kind of a distraction. Because it feels like with the heart as well, with Bart, like, going to Lisa, you're getting high on your own supply, and you look at you with the hubris now. Like, so when he pulls the hamster out, because there wasn't a reminder of the hamster somewhere in the middle of the episode, again, that didn't feel earned.
yeah.
And with the shoehorning in with the, by the way, this hamster was also the hamster from all those other episodes of The Simpsons at the end. It was like, okay.
Yeah,
sure.
that
fine.
seems.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it. I think Nibbles has probably been replaced.
This might be Nibbles
at
part
least
3.
once. At least once.
Yeah, if there's 5 snowballs, there's there
Yeah.
could be more nibbles. But ultimately, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons?
Again, bare bones, the ideas are certainly there, and no characters
Yeah.
particularly off-brand, but it isn't finished.
Yes, similar for me. Like I said it before, but it just feels like a first draft.
Yeah. And, we're seeing a bending of Marge's character being, very emotionally distant and clearly traumatized and stuff. And I still like, that's all fitting in, but again, not earned.
But that's like such a deep thing, and then they kind of just gloss over it. It's like, if you're going to go there, go there. Don't paint over it.
Not fully, but yes or no, would you watch it again?
No.
Not really. I don't see a real point. I think I got everything out of this episode it has.
No, I think
Yeah.
I'm going to scrub through and get the chili colander scene and then cut off the joke I didn't like, and that's about it.
There's your gif.
Yeah, you gotta give that.
All right, we'll start with you, Ellen. What would you like to change about this episode?
I would like to just follow the emotional through line of both of the characters. Whether or not it makes them completely separate stories. I would prefer it if we committed to the seriousness of Lisa being a vet and Marge being a crime scene cleaner, and have them kind of intersect throughout the story. You know, how are these jobs changing them as people, and how are they relating to each other? And then how do they manage to kind of find the balance and resolve those emotional problems that this is kind of bringing about?
No, totally.
Yeah.
And what about you, BT?
I mean, I think we've put it in dribs and drabs throughout this whole thing, but yeah, it's like, here are two people doing drastically different things with their lives that are completely changing them as people who live in the same house who never intersect. And that's really weird. And yeah, look, we've thrown some ideas around. It feels like it's a script that's fine. It just needs a bunch more passes. It feels just incomplete. And so we've already thrown out some ideas there, but follow your own plots, basically.
Yeah. And yeah, just piggybacking off those ideas, guys, like my big thing is that just, again, I don't really want a Simpsons episode to be too dark, but sometimes when they are, they explore deep, hard to deal with subjects with lighthearted good humor that makes it all relatable. And the fact that Marge and Lisa's jobs are both dealing with death, I think, is an interesting plot point that they really didn't hit on enough.
Yeah, this is what, season 24?
27.
27, yeah. At this point, fuck it, do a deep episode.
Yeah.
Go dark. I mean, come on, do something.
Also the fact that it's two of our female characters in the family, and these are kind of feminine problems, like feminine occupations to kind of bring life and to be there at the end of it. I think there could have been something really nice in seeing what kind of conversation they would have with each other, especially because Marge and Lisa are so diametrically opposed on certain things that they can really bring out the best in each other sometimes.
Yeah, they really let these characters down, like in Holidays of Future Past, an episode which, you know, we all pretty well liked, but yeah, they didn't hammer home that dynamic enough. And
yeah, because that's a very deep, interesting dynamic. But even if you didn't want to go that deep, appreciate that they've both got new jobs. One's feeling great about it, the other one's feeling terrible. There's something to be said for that. And it's just, so simple, and yet nothing.
Yep.
Absolutely. And guest star of the episode, just one. Who picked up who was playing Dr. Budgie?
Nope, I'm terrible at picking up voices.
BT?
Meryl Streep?
No, you've bloody done it again. No, returning Simpsons often guest star Michael York.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fucking the dude from Austin Powers, right? Yeah. I know he's done other stuff, guys. Don't at me. I'm a millennial.
No, that's our closest, biggest touch point for him as well. Yeah, playing Basil Exposition.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Being so very British.
Oh shit! Actually, wasn't he in oh my god, Cabaret?
Oh, was he?
Yeah, fairly sure.
We're bad with musicals. Well, BT is good with musical soundtracks.
I don't want to be. It was forced into my skull.
This isn't like he didn't get kidnapped and tortured with Oklahoma or anything. It was just growing up in a household.
Growing up in a house where mum had like 3 musical CDs and played them on end. So the best of Andrew Lloyd Webber, I've got in there. Oklahoma's in there. Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
The best of Andrew Lloyd Webber? Isn't that an oxymoron?
Apparently not. 2 CD special edition set.
Oh, God, there were 2.
All of it is in there. Sound of Music as well.
Wow.
What was the question again? Oh, Michael York. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was okay in this episode, but he was a little slow with his delivery. So, and especially he had 2 very similar jokes where it was using a cliche and then subverting the expectation of it.
Yeah, which you saw a mile off.
But because he's delivering it at half a mile an hour, it just felt so long.
Do you know how many people come in here asking for a job?
I once knew a boy that...
it's like, but how old is this dude by now?
Yeah, right. But no, he's actually been in The Simpsons like 5 times now, playing various characters over the years.
They're just like, we need a British person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's there, and British.
Yeah. All right, we're here. Ellen, do you have any other notes about this episode?
It's a silly joke, but I think they could have made more of a meal of it. It's just the fact that I wonder what it must be like to be a vet and have to like deal with these life and death situations and take it all very seriously, even though you've got silly pet names. So it's like, oh my goodness, oh my gosh, Mr. Snowflake is coming in for surgery at 3. It doesn't look like he's going to make it. Like, what was one of them? Chairman Meow?
Yeah.
And you have to take that seriously because that's a living, breathing creature that someone's bestowed with a fucking stupid name.
Yes, we have Snigglewigglers coming in later. It'll be a desperate surgery for fight for life, the likes of which we've not seen here before. Let us pray for Snigglewigglers.
And also the one line, and raccoons are such good providers. Nelson getting jealous about Lisa kissing a raccoon because they're good providers. It made me laugh.
It does bring me to a small Jordan's anal corner, wherein Lisa is like, my first real kiss. No, it's not.
Well, yeah.
She said it in front of Nelson, who was pining over her and getting jealous. Like,
Can Ellen's anal corner? I think she knew what she was doing.
Oh, wow. I think it was a burn.
First real kiss. Yeah, Nelson.
Exactly.
If that had been the joke, I would have enjoyed it a hell of a lot more. He's like, I'm right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She seemed weirdly into it, though, the way she goes, and my first real kiss. And then later, I'll take the animal's temperature. I know what it's involved, and I'm willing to do it. Ooh.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, too willing is your suggestion?
Yeah, this is some interesting territory that we've drifted into.
We were brought here by the currents of the episode.
I want to get out.
Yep.
Well, did you have any other notes? Any other life rafts?
Of course, men would use paper towels on a fucking...
River of blood?
Yeah, a river of blood, and they'll be like, no, let's just put some paper towels down.
Well, new Handy Ultra has special absorbent rivulets to make even those dirty spills easy to clean.
Don't find it now in your supermarket.
Yeah, that can't happen.
Are you vying for a voiceover job there?
Available now.
Oh, and I have a funny anecdote.
Oh, yeah?
So when Chief Wiggum goes, PD, police department, oh my gosh. So I was in a clowning show recently, and all of the clowns have very silly names. There's one called Lizard, there's one called Roger, and Wah, called Wah because he only makes the noise Wah.
Yeah.
And so when we, each of these clowns has been murdered, and so we kind of explore
That
their
was a
murders.
twist.
Yeah, because it's a true crime clown show. And so...
I shouldn't laugh.
But
Still.
we did.
I feel like we need to backtrack, but we must push on with
But,
the anecdote.
yeah, but
No,
come on,
no.
as if you're not currently constructing the plot for true crime clowns in your head right now, because I am.
I know. But yeah, so we dive into Wah's backstory. So we open with Walter Allen Hardy, and one of my cast members was reading the script, and she just goes, and this is like several weeks into rehearsal, by the way, and she goes, Walter Allen Hardy? What? That stands for what? Oh, that's so clever. And she turned to another cast member expecting them to be like, oh yeah, that is really clever. But instead he started laughing and he gasped out, you dumb bitch.
Wow.
It was a great moment.
Savage.
Was he like the Hodor of your story, or?
Yeah, kinda. Yeah. Like
That's a
very-
joke I get now.
A gentle giant kind of what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about you, BT? Do you have any other notes?
Yeah, we vaguely glanced on it, but I really liked Homer's itty-bitty booze light.
Yes.
Just clips onto the edge of a glass so you can see what you're drinking. Quite like that. And a little bit of heart we didn't mention is at the very end when the vet's all like, Lisa, the heart is the seed of love. If you'd gone to vet school, you would have known that.
Again, like Michael York can really deliver a powerful line that kind of sounds dumb at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, my last note is just how dumb the ceiling fan thing is, because if the idea is they need money, this was the worst way to do it. Because
Yeah.
the problem is already fixed halfway through the episode.
And it just leads to Homer doing a bunch of so relaxed with the ceiling fan, but I have a problem, but I'm so relaxed. So.
Yes, I mean, I like ceiling fans, but they're not that good. Don't tell our ceiling fans that, of course.
Yeah.
They're our biggest fans.
Hey.
It's time for my final notes.
Now it's time for his final notes. Elliot's final notes. Sorry for the delay. I had to remember how that went.
No, that's all good.
It's only been a week since we've podcasted.
A lot has happened in this week.
Yeah. We never normally talk about the couch gags. However, the couch was fucking the TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they were meant to be rolling frolically happy or something, but Well, even if that was the case, it ends with the TV leaping for the couch, getting caught by its own cord and shattering its face on the ground, implying that it's dead. So what is this saying? That reaching for the things you love will kill you.
That's a lesson to take from it.
I guess.
I mean, true.
But it's just so... the whiplash on it as well, because then it cuts straight into the episode without the dun-dun-dun-dun.
Yeah, which was weird.
Yeah, just odd. Oh, and Bart's whole thing of getting people out of the water park, and this is when it's revealed that it's in the middle of winter for no reason.
Oh, yeah.
Those fish that'll crawl up your wiener, and
Yep, the
you got to go put
Gambari.
your dingus in the snow. I don't know, it feels weird. If you're going to go to a water park, it doesn't feel like a winter activity.
No.
No,
Yeah,
it
I
does
have
not.
gone to one, though. Not a water park, but I did go to an outdoor heated pool in Russia.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's kind of like artificial hot springs, I guess, because they keep the pool
Yeah.
quite warm. And so you go outside you have to like put all your clothes inside so that they don't get cold and wet.
Yeah.
But it just means that for the 30 seconds that it takes for you to walk to the pool, you're just there in your bathers going, get in there.
The coldest undie run you can ever imagine now
Oh,
available
God,
in Russia.
yeah. There you go.
Russia, you wacky place.
You wacky Russians.
Wow.
I like that Miss Hoover was going to do jello shots with her former students.
Oh, yeah.
I
It
feel,
happens at one point or another.
well, I do like the sort of loose backstory they get with some of their lower tier characters.
Yeah.
Miss Hoover, especially, being a hardened alcoholic, I could imagine she'd call up a few former students and be like, "What's up?"
I'll just bump into them at the bars. and,
Yeah,
they're getting loose and she's like, yeah, what up?
yeah. You get yours, Miss Hoover. Grandpa had a long rambling joke about Kramer versus Kramer, which I hated.
Oh, yeah. Too long.
Oh, Lisa had an awesome delivery of line to Bart, which was like, I've seen tabbies that were more ticks than cats, and I know why the cage dog scoots, and I've had the cold kennel cough. Oh, God, that's hard to say.
Cold kennel cough.
Yeah, I thought she had that great line delivery that I'm not good at, because I have bad talk.
Not a professional actor.
You talk bad.
And another thing I like, just to leave this episode off on a high note, I liked that Mr. Burns emotionally eats with a thimble of ice cream.
Oh, yes.
So relatable.
It's nice to see him brought down a peg.
No, absolutely. And yeah.
We do know he likes this iced cream.
Wait, doesn't
History.
he never got the hound back? Does that mean Santa's little helper has a new friend?
No.
Oh. No.
Anyway, time to rank this thing. On the Simpsons Index, we rank using our 6-point scale, which starts down the bottom at failure. Maybe if the episode was just meh, you give it participant. But for the positive rankings, you got okay bronze, good silver, excellent gold, but for the best of the very best, the episodes that the Simpsons could not exist without, you give cubic zirconia. I'm going to go first. Let me show you how it's done. I mean, through the chat, it actually might have brought me a bit up on the episode.
Really?
And I'm kind of tempted with bronze, but I'm going to stick with a participant because, yeah, it left me feeling flat. And besides a handful of jokes, the story just it did not come together for me. How about you, Ellen? What are you ranking it?
I'm probably going to go bronze just because, yeah, some good ideas. Like I said, it's a good first draft. You've got a few little gags. You've got a kind of strong start for both Marge and Lisa, but it's just follow it through. Take it seriously, do something with it. Remember that you've got these two characters who are the A plot and the B plot, so maybe make sure that they have a kind of satisfying ending. Yeah, so that's me.
And BT, finish it off.
I'm going to set it a participant. I'm glad someone went bronze because it's fair enough to say this has a potential it doesn't ruin, but it also doesn't use all its advantages that it could have had. It's just there's not too much there to grab onto. It's just ideas that didn't quite come together. And yeah, it should have been a first draft, a few more passes, but as it is, it's just incomplete.
All right. Well, that'll average out into being a shiny participant. It'll be the first episode from season 27 to be called a shiny participant, but it'll also be joining another episode that Michael York was in, season 17, Homer's Paternity Coot, where Michael York is almost his father.
Yes.
All right, and now it's time for us to move on to our Teens Era episode, where we're going to look at the time that Lisa evolved her religious beliefs. When we review season 13's She of Little Faith, we'll be back.
Woo! Woo! Can't wait.
You sounded like Fat Bender.
But he just said woo.
It was air escaping from his flaps.
Yeah, my theatre partner, apparently I do a soft woo a lot, particularly if I'm disappointed in something or if I'm like stressed and we're talking about something stressful that we need to do. I'll go like woo, and he hates it. He fucking hates it, and I just can't stop at this point. Nor will I.
Seems endearing, yeah. I don't know what the problem is.
Actually, we were playing a Power Rangers game for a Nintendo 64 podcast last week, and every time you successfully finished a level, you just got this like really flat, unenthusiastic, yay! Good shit.
Oh gosh, voice acting wasn't what it was.
Yeah.
And we are back, and we just watched our Teens Era episode. This was Season 13, Episode 6, She of Little Faith. First released in December of '01, it was directed by Stephen Dean Moore, written by one-time Simpsons writer Bill Freiberger. Freiberger. In this episode, Lisa decides to become a Buddhist. What did we think?
What's on the fry burger?
Fries.
Sorry, I got distracted.
You've never put chips in your burger?
Oh.
Of that I've done. I didn't know that was called a fry burger, but okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
but it is
it'd be
now.
like the American name for like a chip butty or something.
Oh, Chip Buddy. Oh, fuck. Oh, yeah, the episode's great as well.
Oh, yeah.
Almost as good as a fry burger.
Yeah, there's a lot of good feels from this one. This has been my favorite. One episode that's certainly been a favorite of mine. Maybe not the favorite, but I do love this episode.
Yeah, well, we'll start with you. What stands out to you, for better or worse? And I can imagine you've got like a bit of personal history with this one as well, like...
Yeah, I mean, I guess Lisa's like a good stand-in for most audience members, but yeah, like I definitely remember being a kid and going through like a big crisis of faith, and like if what we didn't like about the previous episode is, how insincere it can be about the character's inner turmoil, this one's great for it because we really do feel all of those yucky feelings that Lisa gets from the sacrilegious treatment of the church, and then this whole idea of like, well, what is important about church anyway? Can I find my own path? Yeah, and so I guess it's like the strength of really following Lisa's and, the whole Simpson gang. Like, their stories and their characters are really kind of pushed to the limits in this episode and explored in a way of what would Marge do? What would Homer do? What would Bart do? And, Richard Gere is fun as well. Never thought I'd say that, but it's a really silly but also not cameo. It's just like he's just there.
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny.
It comes very close to being, what are you doing here, Richard Gere? But I thought, all the jokes around him were pretty solid. And our one guest star for the episode.
Yeah, it's also, I guess they even put in the line of like the most famous Buddhist. And so I guess the kind of like lameness of like why Richard Gere and what is he doing is kind of like solved by the writers being like, who's a famous Buddhist? Oh my God, fuck, I don't know.
I also think it works that he never leaves that temple. He's just there. So
He's just there.
She goes to him rather than, him moving in with the Simpsons. And what wackiness will that be? It's
He's
just
always been there.
Yeah. Yeah, he may have just always been at that temple. He just has permanent residence in Springfield. No one ever thought to check the Buddhist temple.
Exactly.
The only other two Buddhists are Lenny and Carl, and they don't seem to get it.
Who wears short shirts?
I wear short shorts. Those guys are way off.
Yeah, I really enjoyed his line delivery in this episode as well. Like when Lisa tells her about his birthday and she goes, I'll send you an email birthday card. He just goes, sweet.
Yeah, he's really pleased about it.
Yeah. And how about you, BT? What stands out to you for better or worse?
A couple of quick things I'm going to point out. One is I always love a good neon sign montage with the character walking in darkness and neon signs flying past. And the Church of Latter-day Druids and just Amish in all lights.
The irony of Amish being spelt out in fluorescent lighting.
Yeah. No, I always enjoy that gag. And I did quickly want to throw to you accidentally build us a Nibbles playlist.
I didn't know this was going to happen.
I was going to say, yeah. Is Nibbles in the last one as well?
Sorry, in the last one is in the one we're doing.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to wait and see then.
I don't remember.
I don't think so, but yeah, that was an amazing bit because, yeah, you pointed out when the rocket was starting up, have you built a Nibbles playlist? And I'm like, what are you talking about? That's right, he pilots the rocket.
The nerds
And apparently survives.
Yeah, and made his way back to the school.
And his wife.
And his wife, hopefully.
Aww, that's
and their
sweet.
2 kids.
Well, the wife is present when he dies, so presumably yes.
Wow, she's had a long life, that Mrs. Nibbles.
Wow. I hope she rests easy in her retirement in the, let's assume, 5th grade classroom.
Yeah.
Shoebox.
Gosh, she's buried 3 of her children, her husband.
Well, she digested 3 of her children.
Oh, dear. And what stands out to me, look, the whole church undergoing the seedy makeover, and I just get so many vibes of Hillsong from this, and
oh, yeah.
because, we live in Castle Hill, we live in the suburb that Hillsong originated, so growing up, Hillsong was always just this little thing growing in the corner, this little weird church that has now exploded into this multinational corporation.
God, it's so
For
disgusting,
international
isn't
listeners,
it?
Hillsong is one of those places that has a mega church. So.
Oh, no. International listeners will know Hillsong.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
fuck.
Hillsong have a church in New York now.
Yeah, I feel like Justin Bieber did something for them, or they have enough money to be able to get some of that firepower of big stars doing shows for them. It's just it's really fucked up. I guess it's all the gross things that international people might be more aware with, Scientology, of the fact that it's this weird celebrity cult of favors and all this money going into it, and it's just really, really fucking disgusting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is a conspiracy theory at the moment going around that Scott Morrison, our Prime Minister, delayed the lockouts and shutdowns of big mass gatherings last week because there was a massive Hillsong conference. That was a 500,000 people attendance sort of thing as well.
Probably, yeah.
And
it's
yeah. But anyway, not to remind us of the current state of affairs.
yeah, let's focus on good things.
Let's think more about hamsters in spacesuits.
Gladly.
Yeah.
Looking at that yaw control.
Your control is important.
Yeah.
But no, what I really loved about this scene is it's Lisa, having this crisis of faith, but still believing in a God. And she just saw the current path isn't currently working for her, and she sees through it. This is all such important Lisa character work in this episode for me.
Yeah, and I do like that in an episode where Lisa rejects Christianity not out of science and atheism, but just out of the fact that it's not working for her. It's, it's
I
nice.
like that as well, because I think it's too easy to be... There's so many crisis of faith things I see in media, and they're just all very cynical.
Yeah.
And it's I'm not a big believer of religion anymore, or any kind of faith, but that's not to say I just want to dick on people who do. We're all trying to search for that something, right? It's like Nietzsche, it's we must find meaning in this life because we killed off just being beholden to kind of religion and faith, and so it's just kind of we're all looking for that extra something, and whatever you get it out of, that's your bag. And so I think it's much more realistic to have this kind of awareness of wait, what is this thing that I've been doing? And do I need to be doing it this way? Do I want to do it at all? And even if I do, is there a way to kind of make it more personable to me? And I think that's a really excellent arc for Lisa to kind of follow. It keeps the compassion in Lisa, which is something it makes me sad when people kind of do away with that element of her and make her very kind of cynical and, holier than thou, pardon the pun.
Yeah.
And I think may as well skip ahead to the integrity question. Did this feel like a Simpsons? We get a little bit of Flanderization in Flanders when he just freaks out and heads to the panic room over Lisa becoming
My
a
Satan
Buddhist.
sense is tingling.
Yeah.
Ned is a fucked up version of Spider-Man then.
Oh,
Well, Spider-Man has spider sense, so if Ned has Satan sense, maybe the Treehouse of Horror is true and he is the devil.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Or maybe Ned was bitten by a radioactive Satan.
Oh, God.
Just wait for season 33. That'll happen.
No.
Ned becomes Spawn. Yeah.
But yeah, as far as character integrity, like we had a lot of problems with the last episode, how they failed to join Lisa and Marge together. And I thought this episode did a very good job of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, they're both trying to go about what they think is the same thing, but just Lisa is all about questioning tradition and trying to find not necessarily enlightenment, but, you know, kind of going at it from a more intellectual side. You know, why am I doing this? How does it serve me? And vice versa. Whereas Marge thinks that any kind of dissection of the norm is disrespectful or, you know, is going to get you in trouble. Like her her apologizing to Mr. God after Lisa questions if there is a God, you know, why it might be a woman. It might be a man. Like, who's to say what gender of this omnipotent being is? And Marge completely loses her shit. And it's kind of nice to see the wacky reactions of the town, because it is really everyone against Lisa.
Yeah.
And it really it is nice for Lisa to be kind of like the voice of reason against this town of absolute lunatics.
Yeah, but it's someone who likes questioning tradition versus someone who takes comfort in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And Marge is like, yeah, it's a system shock to her because it's like, why wouldn't you like this tradition? It's always worked. Like, and I like that, yeah, in the story that Marge sort of reverts back to a bunch of cliches to try and rationalize it.
Yeah.
Is this about a boy? Like,
Yes.
But it's okay if it is. But yeah, to quickly throw to a quote from Game of Thrones where Tyrion says, "Don't confuse what is with what should be."
Yeah.
So also you can listen to Thrones of Game, our other podcast, where we watch Game of Thrones backwards.
Diagonal,
Wonderful.
pretty sneaky there.
Lateral integration.
Yeah. Available now.
But yeah, and even like trying to use desserts and Christmas to tempt Lisa back, and
I do love she bakes the cookies and then just immediately throws them in the bin.
yeah.
Oh, God.
Just going to say, there's actually a really subtle callback there to when another Christmas episode where, oh yeah, this is technically a Christmas episode. Another Christmas episode where Marge bakes Christmas trees for the girls and bloody spearheads for Bart. And you can see there's, half Christmas trees, half bloody spears.
Like, that is such a thing of trying to maintain the status quo by these, like, placeholders or these things that we just assume are going to be, you know, Christmas cookies and gifts and blah, 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 blah. And it's like such a parent thing. It's really interesting to see, because this isn't a fight, you know, this isn't, but in a way it is, because Marge is losing control over Lisa because she's starting to question her own sense of spirituality and her own path through life. And that's scary, I guess, because if your child can do that, what does that mean for your connection to them? If you see religion as this kind of like placeholder in society, this kind of community thing. And it works so well in this kind of Simpsons era of, especially in America. I mean, we feel it a bit in Australia, but there is this kind of example of the God-fearing citizen. Like, we are, you know, united in God and blah, 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 blah. Even though, what does that even mean to American societies? It just means like, oh, I go to church on Sunday and literally, as Marge says, give lip service to the church.
Yeah.
So many Western societies are just like so rooted in, you know, being kind of faith-based, even though it's like, this isn't a thing that you should instill in people from childhood. It's something that you should let people discover on their own. Even like, you know, nobody can eat it at the table until we've all said grace. It's just like, you know, you enforce these rules that then really are meaningless, and just a way to kind of get people who don't want to question into buying into it.
Yeah, and Marge is someone who's like so deeply rooted in these, traditions and practices and stuff. She just, doesn't get it. And like when she interrupts Lisa's prayer, she's just like, why do you have to be so different? And like that line really stood out to me. Like, it's just Marge thinking Lisa's just trying to be different for different sake rather than, But, and the other character moment, because we don't get much from the rest of the family in this episode, but Homer being very strict on his traditions and beliefs and practices.
It's such a good bait and switch that you think it's going to be him telling off Lisa, and it's him telling Bart to butter his bacon and bacon up that sausage.
But my heart hurts.
And it's not even like a witty retort. It's just him furrowing his brows at Bart. It's
It's a good example, I think, of, you'll do what I do and you'll believe what I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, Father.
Even if it does hurt your heart. Really, that joke is one of the smartest things ever.
Oh, it's so... Yeah, because I guess it's a kind of antithesis of this episode of like, I don't give a fuck. You're going to do this because it's what I do.
It's what I believe.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the other pure Homer moment of... when he's singing floss it,
meatloaf?
floss it good.
Oh.
When you eat meatloaf, you must floss it. Floss it
That
good.
meatloaf was really good. No, you must floss it.
No, floss it. Yeah, Homer bathroom songs. There's a fucking playlist.
I was going to say, like, one of my favorite, it's a surefire way to make me giggle, is just characters who sing impromptu songs to themselves for no reason. Like,
and there's some great Homer ones, like, singing Mindy instead of Mandy, or shaving my shoulders, getting it all shaved off.
I was just thinking, like, Marshall Erickson from How I Met Your Mother constantly does that, and I fucking love it so much. It's just like, it's such a silly gag, but it's just like...
It's always done with such glee.
Yeah.
It's always why it works.
Being a lawyer had better be awesome.
Oh, fantastic. Play count. Have you seen this episode before today, BT?
Indeed, I have.
A lot?
I mean, you didn't ask that. You asked if I had.
did not.
You fool. An enlightenment's worth.
How about you, Ellen?
I know I've seen it a lot of times before, but I don't know that I'd be able to put a number on it.
Yeah, like, this is one that I actually think I saw a surprising amount of times, like, given season 13 is, like, around the time where I started not watching them as much as a kid, especially the new episodes. But yeah, this one stands out, and I think, this is going to be a highlight of the season, honestly. But I'm getting too far ahead. We must go through the questionnaire first before we rank it. So was this a particularly wacky episode of The Simpsons?
Oh my.
Fuck yeah.
In hearts.
There's so many wacky... Okay, like the pursuit of Lisa's faith, that's all kind of like very close to the heart and whatever. Everyone around her, though, however, is fucking bonkers. Just like the fact that the Reverend couldn't even wait for their plan to go, to finish without him standing outside saying, lick it. Like, it's just...
Out of context, Lovejoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, that's so stupid. Flanders taking his kids up to the little safe room they have.
Yeah.
The whole commitment, like, kicking us off in the episode of Homer building this kind of rocket ship with Bart and being so committed that he enlists his group of nerds again into making a tiny scale rocket that they then send a little hamster out into space. Like, that's fucking funny shit. It's so stupid, and I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's interesting the amount of callbacks in this episode that totally work. Like, I loved the nerds' involvement and reappearance in this episode. And
well, how about Milhouse getting his eyebrows blown off and becomes Bart's mutton chops?
hello,
Yeah. And also in the next scene, Milhouse still has eyebrows, so did he just slap them back on? I don't know.
Yeah, because they peel off.
Yeah, they then fall off when the big rocket goes off.
Oh, God. Speaking of slapping them on, Homer's contacts. Oh,
Yeah.
Very weird.
I don't know about you guys, but I made a very visceral reaction where I was like, oh. Like when they just shrink into his eyes and he just blinks over them. It's disgusting.
It's just such an odd, because it's not a joke there. It's just...
I think it's like, imagine how big contacts would be in this world, I guess is the joke, but then contacts only go on the pupil, not the whole eye. So...
It's messed up.
Man.
So, neither of us you're not a glasses wearer, Ellen?
No. I have worn contacts quite a lot, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like when I do princess jobs,
theatre
I usually try and match my eye color to the character I'm playing. So,
interesting.
Yeah,
Commitment.
yeah, and so you just kind of like and even then, it always takes me a few goes, and it's so annoying because I always leave it to the last. Like, I always do the rest of the makeup first because that's a really long process, and also half the time I have to arrive at the venue with all my makeup and stuff done.
Yep.
And also, I don't want to be wearing the contacts for that long. And so it usually means I have to like try and put them in a tiny little compact mirror, usually crying off one of my false eyelashes. It's nuts. And you always like, you blink it out and then you look at it and it's got like the glitter from your eyeshadow in there and you're like, oh, fuck, Jesus Christ.
Jeez, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I used to work as a clown and I know about going to and from gigs in full regalia, but I did not have to deal with makeup on a level that you did. I just
slopped it on.
Slopped on the white, slopped on the red. I'm good to go.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of doing like this clowning show recently. I was doing my lipstick and something and I think I like bumped myself and it just went skidoo off my face and I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter.
It's still
It can
fun.
be as shit as I want it to be. Oh my God.
Liberation through clowns.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
And I did want to get the other wacky bit I really loved, which is when the typical hobo in the gutter sees the rocket flying off. He's like, I'm done with this, and throws it away. And this guy in a suit catches the bottle. Hey, why? Just gets in the gutter, starts drinking.
He has the glee of an adult hopping into a kiddie pool.
I know, it was really like a pig and shit, isn't he? It's just like, soon as he slops back into the gutter, it's just...
and all it took was the memory that wine exists. It's like, hey, wine.
Why haven't I been doing this all the time? Love it. But how about the heart of this episode? Was this a particularly heartfelt one?
More a spiritual one than a heart.
Oh, very good. Ooh.
What an enlightened comment.
Yes.
It had the heart for me. You really feel the kind of pathos that Lisa's going through, especially like, I don't know why, but my heartstrings just were really wrenched seeing the family downstairs in their whole Christmas regalia and like her walking down the steps. Like it really just kind of highlighted how isolating questioning a kind of long-held tradition, familial tradition can be. I don't know, and that really kind of made me feel a bit, oh man, this really fucking sucks.
Well, I don't know if it was like clear that Marge was like her worrying about this. It just sort of seemed to come from more of a God-fearing place. But yeah, that I guess you can say that was sort of playing in the character in the back of their mind. Is like, we're going to lose her from all these traditions. And
Well, she does say at least one Simpson needs to go to heaven.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, but we can't talk about Harden, especially at this moment of the episode, without talking about Clip Clop.
Lip Clop. More sugar, please.
That was so good. And like just the playing at the end with Lisa like still being a little bit of a consumerist, still having a little desires.
Absolutely. Like that's the thing about working with kids as well. You have to kind of be wary of this, of like kids remember that kind of shit. You know,
you promise
like
shit,
you promise shit, they want it. I mean, even I can remember when I'm a kid, it's just like, hey, Mum, can we go to the blah today? And she'll be like, oh, maybe. And in your head, you're like, that means we're going to go.
Yeah.
And like the whole day, that's all you're thinking about. Whereas to your mum, it's just like, oh, I've got like 5 million other things I'm thinking about. Like, get off my case for a second. And then it's like, no, of course I didn't keep thinking about that because it doesn't mean anything to me.
Oh, you can't remember to put your socks in the hamper, but you can remember that I promised you next month we'll go to the blah.
Exactly.
Although I did want to call out another Jordan's anal corner for this section.
Oh.
Effectively because like the camera kind of follows Marge and Lisa as they're kind of walking, along the hallway, and they go past the couch and they go past the kitchen, and then they keep going, and the house just keeps going and going. It's like, where are you now?
It's a metaphor, BT.
I'm just saying. Are they walking in very careful circles?
They didn't have the West Wing yet. Was that show?
Yeah.
They didn't have the
Aaron Sorkin talking and walking.
Yeah. They didn't have him at the director's helm for this one.
No.
There's a guy who can direct a talking in a hallway
walk
scene.
and a talk.
Oh, bye. He is the master.
Or a talk and a walk. Why not?
Yes or no? Would you watch this one again?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would watch it again. If we're going to watch it again, we'd put it in a playlist. What playlist does this belong in?
I mean, we already talked about Homer songs and nibbles.
Yep.
Yeah, like it works really well for what we're going to watch next, which is a crises or a kind of a change in belief playlist.
Yeah, you can fit that with like when Maud dies and Ned sort of questioning faith and all that.
Or with the latter day one of my Todd, why have you forsaken me?
Yeah.
Mixed feelings about that episode still, but it definitely fits.
Or I'd even put like less faith, but definitely a change. Oh, I can't remember the name of the episode, but the one where they go on vacation and Lisa becomes cool.
Oh, yeah. Summer
You know
of
the
4'2". Yeah.
Yeah, like, because it's a similar thing for Lisa where she kind of goes like, wait a minute, I don't need to do this. Like, in that episode, it's more her being like, I can shrug off my
Trying to leave her old
personality.
self behind, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I could stop doing this and kind of reinvent myself whenever I wanted to. And that's a really kind of cool thing to explore, especially for, it reminds me, these episodes really hit home for me when I was watching them, because it was kind of like really interesting to see these kind of themes play out when you are younger and those things are occurring to you for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this theory has been floated on this podcast a bunch that Lisa is meant to be you. Like,
Yeah.
she's the best, like, surrogate for the audience in that one. And yeah.
Yeah.
I have another playlist and it's very niche, but Kearney being an active participant in the community, like, he's often in these scenes as like one of the members of the church board and at PTA meetings.
I do like his line of, I'm a teenager and also the father of a teenager.
A teenager. That's really great. Oh, yeah. There's some really interesting infighting in the bullies of like,
Yeah.
we're going by this because that's my mum's boyfriend now. It's like, I thought Kearney was dating your mum. It's like, whoa. Okay, we don't want to talk about that. Like,
actually, that scene reminds me, they seem to do this joke a lot, you know, talking about a guy with long hair. He was a carpenter, had crazy ideas. They did this in Homer the Heretic, where Homer's like, oh, Marge, you know that guy. He had the blue car.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I like just in that bit where they start beating up Kearney. I love that Bart just shrugs and joins in.
Yeah, Bart
Well, they're
even
not
gets a
threatening
lick
me
in
anymore. I
himself.
may as well wallop this guy.
All right, we're almost here. Ellen, what would you change about this episode?
Oh gosh, that's a really hard one because it is a favorite of mine and it does kind of clip along at a nice pace.
Clip, clop along.
It kind of clip-clops along at a nice pace. Well, if I was going to change anything, maybe a bit darker. Like I said, you get a hint of that isolation that Lisa feels, but maybe like drive the point home a bit more. Like, obviously, yes, she's having a crisis and so there's a lot of doubt, but I bet there's a lot of loneliness and anger and sadness too. And so I guess maybe to seem more like all is lost before it's kind of solved again at the end would be my one thing.
Yeah, I dig on that. How about you, BT? What would you change?
Not terribly much. I think I'd make it a little bit more with a laugh. I like the story and everything. I just, very few of my notes are jokes that I really loved, although there are a few. Well, we'll get to them later.
I wonder how this episode can function without the intro, because like I was saying before, the rest of the family aren't in it much, and then I thought, oh yeah, wait, the whole intro sequence is basically not Lisa and Marge and all them. So I'm wondering, how necessary it is, because all it does is just destroys the church, and there's just a number of ways you can do that could still incorporate Lisa starting to question before the church gets the sleazy makeover.
Well, I will say, then we wouldn't get to watch any of The Planet from Outer Space, and that's a good movie.
Oh, gosh.
Larry can't breathe. Put on your goggles.
Your goggles. And then there's smoking as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is all, it's all fun stuff. I think you might be right there. And it's just like, I remember pausing a bit into the opening and then kind of looking and I'm like, oh, this has taken a surprisingly long time for us to get to the actual meat of this episode.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like when the meat is so tasty as well. I know you're a vegetarian, Alan, but like, especially, considering the next episode we got coming up. Like, this episode has got lots of tasty bits in the back half that, I wonder if the theme would just to slightly carry through more solidly in the front end. Yeah, I wonder. But anyway, we are here. Ellen, do you have any other notes?
Actually, shit, I have a fashion corner.
Ellen's fashion
corner.
Wink.
Oh, that was nice. That was all in unison. Cute. Nibble's wife. I was going to say Nibbler. Nope. Nibble's wife is wearing a suit or a two-piece rather reminiscent of a Jackie O. She's got the little pink Chanel kind of two-piece suit.
Yep.
With the little pink pillbox hat. And I was like, that's interesting. Is that just synonymous with widow-to-be? Or
Ooh.
even though Nibbles did survive, so...
For 14 years, apparently.
Yeah. Very long-lived hamster. Yeah. And also, I really like Marge's coat. the like long orange one with the like purple ruff.
Yeah, the winter coat that pops up every now and then.
Yeah, it's nice. Like, I know it's one of her staples, but I'm just like, oh, that's a really nice fucking color scheme.
Yeah, and it was nice to see the Simpsons wearing their tacky Christmas sweaters as well.
Oh, yes, Christmas. Can't forget about the Christmas sweaters.
No.
They kind of get a pass from fashion because the job of them is... But the job of them is to be so egregious and over the top that you're like, hey, it's the holidays.
It transcends fashion in that it's also exempt.
Hey, I mean, I'm all about ugly fashion as well. I think it's art is fashion and fashion is art. And the further you push into the ugly, the more kind of transcendental you're going to get with what you're looking at.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of my post-apocalypse outfitting has been loud shirts that I would never wear in the before times.
What were you saying? Dress for the apocalypse you want, not the apocalypse you have.
That's the one.
Exactly. I'm going to start dressing like Imperator Furiosa.
Yes.
Yes.
Did you have any other notes?
Oh, Lisa angrily comparing the desecration of the church to the whore of Babylon.
Yeah.
And the Reverend saying, that's not a good comparison. And she goes, no, it's apt. Apt.
It's a hard word to scream, isn't it?
Yeah.
Apt.
There's just not enough word there to yell it.
Yeah, she does it well, though. Yes, and the two last things. One, the angel that Homer puts on top of Lisa's Bodhi tree. I love it so much.
Or just say, at least it's tasteful.
If it exists, I want to buy it. An angel that vivisected at the waist turns around and barks out Merry Christmas. No, wait, what is it?
Jingle Bells, I think.
Jingle Bells, Jingle Bells.
I'm glad you brought it up because, skimming through my notes, I'm like, what was angel bark? Oh, of course.
It's so
angel,
funny. It's so funny. And my last thing is probably Mr. Burns and his smoke bomb.
Yep. I love any smoke bomb exit.
I love a shit smoke bomb gag. They're always funny. Always.
Or especially out of Archer Krieger's just yelling smoke bomb and running away.
Yes.
All-time smoke bomb gags. How about you, BT? Any other notes?
Yep. I love when Reverend Lovejoy. God, why is that so hard to say? When he's standing outside going, it's going to cost a lot to fix this church, barring some kind of miracle. Okay, we'll help ourselves again.
I do like, the passive aggression.
Yeah.
Yep. And also Mr. Burns is, we highly value your input until you sign the deal. Classic Burnsian stuff.
Very good Burns in this episode.
Oh, man, it's so good. He's just there for the money and then he's out of the story.
Yeah.
My last note is at the Buddhist temple, they have a sign that's just like, meditation in progress.
Yeah. Oh, again, great sign work in this episode. And my other note about Mr. Burns is, evil. That's just a skip rope rhyme.
That's how word of him travels through skip rope rhymes.
I'd love to know. I wonder if someone's made it. The skip rope rhyme. I'd love to know if there is one about Mr. Burns circulating.
What rhymes with Burns?
Learns, turns,
stupid.
Burns is evil. Yes, he is. He likes to eat soup made of kids.
That's not bad.
It's a start, you know? We've got something to workshop now.
Yeah.
I can't edit a blank canvas, so thank you.
It's hard without a jump rope, but I feel like I'm doing all right. My final note is a bit of trivia about this episode. It was nominated for an enemy.
In the ocean.
They nominated an enemy of this episode.
I thought you said an enemy.
Oh, like
the ocean Oscars or something.
And winner again, Finding Nemo. Nominees, Finding Dory and Shark Tale. No. This episode was nominated for an Emmy, but lost to Roswell That Ends Well, a Futurama episode.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I should leave.
No, don't be. Come on, Roswell That Ends Well totally fucks.
Oh.
It does. It does totally fuck.
Yeah.
Like easy top 10 Futurama episodes for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets funnier when you realize that for years they had the sign up in the writer's room, no time travel.
Yeah. That their first foray into it is probably one of their best episodes.
And then one day someone was just like, what if? Yes, time travel.
Interesting. We have a little Planet Express ship at the beginning of that kind of mystery science movie. The spaceship that they're flying in looks suspiciously like
Yeah.
Planet Express.
Oh,
That's all
I wonder
I'm
if that
saying.
dog was Seymour.
Oh, no.
It's time to rank this thing.
It was a male dog.
Ooh.
We know
BT, your
that.
turn to go first.
Man, I'm going to sit on a silver with this one. It's a really solid story, and I do like how it doesn't approach things of Lisa being scientific. It's more of her finding a spiritual journey and getting there on her own steam and merits, and Marge's conflict with that is her foundation in these traditions and things like that we talked about. It does need maybe a little bit more of the laugh, but I thoroughly enjoyed the ride, so I'm going to sit on a silver.
Yeah, I'm doing silver as well. Like, I was almost at a gold, but I think the lack of laugh is a very good point in this, because there were a few jokes for me that just felt kind of flat, but I really like the story. I like the way it comes together at the end. A really solid time. Ellen, what do you reckon?
I don't know if I can justify my own decision here.
Go for
I'm
it.
going to go platinum.
You're doing the big Q.
I am. Yeah. Middle fingers up, everyone. It's time. Because I just think with the amount of nuance and care that they're taking with Lisa's story in this really does deserve something. As well as I think it's a really important, I wonder if I'm giving this rating mainly because I believe in the value of an episode of The Simpsons like this. I really
follow your
believe that
instincts.
all kids who watch The Simpsons should watch this episode in terms of opening that door to kind of, questioning themselves, questioning tradition, questioning what brings them closer to some kind of sense of spirituality or sense of self. And I think it's a really brave endeavor, and I think it pulls it off.
Sorry, and also to just holding respect to other people's opinions as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a cynical episode by any means. And I think it gives a lot of space and compassion while allowing the rest of the denizens of Springfield to be their wonderful, wacky selves. But at that same time, they're not that far removed. Marge's reactions, while they're ridiculous, are still so believable. And I think that's really powerful writing and really powerful exploration of the characters. That is funny as all hell as well, which is a little bonus. My only thing is it's a little bit intro heavy when we could just get straight into this wonderful, wonderful episode. But yeah, that's me.
Solid point. You've talked me up. I'm going gold.
Yeah!
And you, BT, sitting strong?
Of course.
He never goes
Your
back.
opinion's always right.
What about right and wrong? These are just not correct is the point. It's not quite the same.
All right. Well, this will be a gold by way of split decision. And
Yay.
this will be now our highest ranking season 13 episode.
Wow.
It would have been if I didn't flip anyway, but it is more so now that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And other golds by way of split decision are Bart versus Thanksgiving, which I was the sour silver on.
Yeah, you're often the sour
Yep.
puss in these earlier ones.
Yeah. Oh, like in Homer Goes to College, I was the sour one there.
Indeed.
Oh,
Yeah.
were you? There's always got to be one.
Homer Goes to College, I've copped a lot of hate for going silver
Wow.
on that one.
Oh, really?
Also-
who cares?
Yeah, fuck him. I'm right.
See, that's the attitude.
Also, Bart's girlfriend starring...
Meryl
Oh,
Streep,
gosh.
am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes. Meryl Streep. All right, so it's time we move on to the classic era where we're going to watch Lisa the Vegetarian. What episode could this be?
The one with Meryl Streep.
If you keep saying it enough times, BT, it will happen.
I don't know why he keeps throwing to me. You know what I'm going to say.
We'll be back. And we are back. We just watched our classic, and oh my god, what a classic this was. This was Season 7, Episode 5, Lisa the Vegetarian. First released in October of 1995, it was directed by Mark Kirkland, written by David S. Cohen, aka David X. Cohen.
But those are two different
Whoa.
names. I'm confused.
What a pseudonym.
Sounds like a pseudonym. Yeah, so this was when David X. Cohen was going by David S. Cohen until Futurama happened and there were two David S. Cohens on the team.
What?
So he thought he'd go X. And apparently he gonna give it to you.
Ah.
I see. Well, X is the only one who gonna give it to you.
X marks the spot.
That he does. So yeah, more loose Futurama themes in this podcast. But anyway, in this episode, this is where Lisa becomes a vegetarian. Come on, you know it, I know it. Let's get into it. What do we think?
I mean, speaking of episodes that fuck,
Yeah.
to steal a term from our friends at Pods in the Key of Springfield, like and subscribe, this episode fucks.
Oh, does it
This
what?
episode totally fucks. Suitable for vegetarians, may I add? If I can speak, I can add it.
Well, I mean, much like the last one, this episode would have a bit of personal attachment for you again.
Yes, I am a vegetarian. Yeah, I remember watching this episode and then kind of flirting with the idea of vegetarianism, because it's such a weird concept that, yet again, from our previous episode, some of these things are so ingrained into you that you're like, wait, what? Meat is animal? Animals
Yeah.
is meat?
Well, Homer illustrates it perfectly. Lisa, this is lamb, not a lamb.
Not a lamb. Sure, some magical animal that makes bacon, ham, and pork chops.
Apparently, that was based on a rant that John Swartzwelder was having in the writer's room about how amazing pigs are. And so, yeah, David threw it into the episode.
Nice.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting because we are desensitized to it in a certain way.
Because it's so normal, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you have had to wring a chicken's neck or anything like that, there's this separation. Most Western society is so distanced from life and death. All of these natural kind of processes, we are afraid of them. We don't like to see it, even something like menstruation. It's gross. But it's the truth is we all breathe, we all shit, we all die. And those are things that in other cultures that aren't so kind of death repressed have kind of it's obvious, and you only get to a certain kind of class and status without having to face these things. If you were a peasant back in the day, or even I know my grandparents from Italy, they would wring a chicken's neck and they'd chop it off and they'd have to do all the plucking and all of that kind of thing. So it's kind of it's not that they're desensitized, but I do feel other cultures, especially Italy, they know, the cow dies so that we eat the meat. And, there is this kind of sense of, we know exactly and we picked it out. And it's kind of we've decided it. Whereas we're so, do most kids know that animals are meat and vice versa? I do think you get to a point where you're just oh yeah, I never thought about it like that.
No, and unless we were actually confronted with going to the killing floor, yeah, I think, even the most hardened adult would end up looking like poor little Timmy at the end of that film.
Yes.
Poor, just shivered, quivering. I gotta say, that kid's an amazing actor to be able to push through after seeing confronted with so much death to keep delivering his lines.
You got to be a pro to work with McClure.
Yeah.
He's a tough guy to work with.
And also, it was completely unnecessary because they just show him walking in and out. They don't film inside the abattoir. So it's just kind of you've just traumatized this child for no reason.
Yeah, it wasn't even any of the shots they were using.
No.
It's just a hard pan on the outside of the factory. It's amazing.
Oh, gosh.
How about you, VT? What stands out to you from this episode?
Man, hard to pick one. I'm going to talk about, though, I think, because I was saying in the first episode how whenever we have this kind of fuck you intro, this one not so much, but they go to a place and it's kind of just riffing on that place for a little bit. Whereas in the first one, I felt like the water park had no real riffs on it. It was just oh, here's a water slide for fat people.
Yeah.
Whereas this has everything. It's got, Marge trying to hype it up, being, it'll be fun for the whole family. And, and then they get, there's fun for ages 1 to 7.5, just cutting off Lisa. Or, the wolf trying to blow down the little pig's house and Bart's oh, it blows, all right, it blows high. It's that's it, honey, get in the spirit. That
Get in the spirit.
Parental thing. And even just the one of the animatronics whose voice box is broken. It's just is again so reflective of, I'm sure we've been to those places as kids where things didn't quite work right, or Bart getting on that ride that he's thinks he's putting one over them by getting underneath the height limit, but
oh gosh,
then just smacks his head into the tunnel and drives it into the woodcutter's crotch.
Oh god.
And I love the second of the kids reacting there when they're yay, the goose got its head chopped off.
Yeah. But who could forget the best part of all, when they first start looking at the lambs, they're oh. Out of the way, you. So many memes come from this episode as well. Holy crap.
I know. Like, while I do love this episode, like, love it, it's also been hurled in my like, ironically, a lot of meat eaters use this episode to ruthlessly roast vegetarians. Roast. No, but I remember literally when I was like telling my family that I was going vegetarian or at least trying vegetarian, so many people would just go back at me. You don't make friends with salad. You don't make friends with salad. You don't make friends with salad.
It's so easy to get caught up in that rhythm, though.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Didn't mean to pick sides, but...
But I'll cap that opinion off with my last little bit, which was I really love when the big bad wolf does try to blow over the little pig's house and it tilts slightly and everyone's like, except for Maggie, who's like...
Yeah.
Yeah, Maggie really enjoyed it.
This is the best thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Mind blown.
And yeah, what stands out to me, I think it's interesting with this episode where, you know, before we looked at Marge and Lisa's relationship during Lisa changing as a character, and this one being about Lisa and Homer. And it's almost like this situation brought out a lot of underlying tension because they were pretty ready to snap at each other.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, like, they really go into the facial animation of, like, it's not just we see a character snap at another one. We get to see them react and be hurt by that.
Yeah.
Like, Homer's reaction when Lisa comes back is furious, but, like, her little scrunched up face as well. Like, you can tell that neither of them are backing down. When she calls Homer, what's it, prehistoric carnivore.
And Marge and Homer, both of them just like, oh, wow.
Yeah, you literally see Homer go, like, into shock, but then also, like, he's a little afraid or, like, very much hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, this is really intense. And it's really interesting to see Homer and Lisa together as well, to see, like, their dynamic. Because it is always, like, I think it's really fun because Homer is, like, very clearly like the wackiest of the family and Lisa is always firmly the straight man.
Well, it's such an interesting situation for them as well, where Homer's blissfully unaware of the wrong he's doing by, hosting the barbecue and being responsible for all those animals slaughtered. And Lisa, in feeling like she's just in taking vengeance for them, ends up doing something objectively wrong as well. And that, she tries to hold her ground and that she's justified. Is a really interesting angle for this story to take.
It's really great that they play with the kind of emotional stakes more than anything. Like, and we are able to see from Lisa's perspective, it's like the whole world is rubbing meat in her face. Yeah, and it's interesting to deal with a character who does a wrong thing, no matter how sympathetic they are, like really own up to it. And I'm like, that's fucking powerful because like so many shows will just kind of like take the easy way out where there is a right and there is a wrong. But it's like, it's nice to see characters that we know and love fuck up.
Yeah, and I do like the balance this episode has where it's got, at the end she says, I still hold strong my beliefs, but I can't defend what I did. And even other little things like you've got, Billy going into the slaughterhouse and coming out just pale as a sheet and shivering. But then you've also got Apu's switching out the hot dogs and goes, oh, it tastes just the same and has thrice the fat.
Thrice the fat. That really made me laugh. Oh, because I mean, now we kind of... and also, this is 1995. Like, how much did mainstream people know about vegetarianism? Like... We're a bit more comfortable with it now. Like a vegetarian, it depends where you're going, but most places you're not going to suffer too much. I mean, even like vegan things get a bit harder and whatever. But like in the 90s, like you don't have those kind of like fake meat replacements. You don't have people kind of catering to vegetarians. Like it is a lot harder.
Yeah, well, I feel like back then, like, vegetarian would have been the punchline that vegan often is now.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Like, this episode manages to, straddle that line, I think, of using tacky jokes against vegetarians, but it's always about the characters delivering them and, the shitty nature of doing that sort of humor to a person.
I mean, how far is this episode from Homer's phobia, at the end of which they're all like, Bart might be gay and Lisa's a vegetarian. It's like, oh, Homer, you and Marge aren't cousins, are you?
Yeah, that's right.
Your kids are so screwed up. One of them doesn't eat meat.
Yeah. most products that don't have a certain thing and it's just been subbed out will usually have more of something else. So it's like, yeah, it is more likely that it has 3 times the fat if it's going to like taste the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's all that, like, the low-fat option actually has more sugar and that sort of shit.
Yeah. It's like, it makes me laugh when people are like, I got this gluten-free dessert because I'm being healthy. It's like, bitch, that's got so much more fat in it as a result.
You gotta replace
People
the
don't
gluten
eat
with something.
gluten-free because it's fun. They eat it so they don't shit themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Play count. Have you watched this episode before today?
Oh my, yes.
Yes, 100 times, yes. And even if I haven't watched it so much, this is such a quotable episode. Like, I feel like I've recreated this episode just by living.
You can recreate this episode just from memes. Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
every moment of this is a memeable moment. And I forgot to say when we were talking about the film before, Troy McClure's in this episode. Another stellar performance by Phil Hartman.
Absolutely.
Pull one out. Pull one glass of maple syrup out.
You dunking your sausage in that maple syrup, homeboy?
Marge, please don't Bart. I just want to drink a glass of maple syrup like I do every morning.
I'm not talking to you, cliche.
That whole rebounding gets it all wrong. It's like, Lisa, tell Marge to get off my case.
So good. Or the extra B is for BYOBB.
What's that
What's that
extra
extra B? It's a typo.
So much.
So quotable.
But yeah, because of that, like, sometimes you can forget the smaller jokes. Like, when Troy McClure was starting the video, hi, I'm taking a walk through cattle country. He's just walking on
Walking
top of
on
cows.
top of them. And you can hear some of them go, "Mrr." Like,
Yeah.
like they're
No,
not
I really
happy
like-
about that.
I really like his line of, just ask this scientician. He'll tell you that.
And that is, like, such a sneaky thing that, like, current affairs reports will do. We spoke to this person and show her footage of them. He tells us that, and it's like,
Yeah.
Get
no,
the
that's still the
footage.
voiceover. What's he actually saying?
Yeah, it's such good propaganda. Like, they
Yeah.
really get it where it's just like, and you see the kids parroting back things from the video of just like,
Yeah.
that is how it works. Like,
Apparently my crazy friend here has never heard of the food chain.
yes, my
I'm going to
crazy
Bovine
friend.
University.
James L. Ralph.
Oh, God. When I grow up, I'm going to Bovine University.
Nice.
But come on, guys, we all know that animation doesn't have messages in them or morals.
It's just
funny
hilarious stuff. People
stuff.
getting hurt and stuff like that. Boom.
Yeah. So I think, we've been naturally segueing into the wackiness of this episode. And, just again to cap off the film, apparently you've never heard of the food chain. Everything coming to a person.
Yeah.
And my other favorite moment, all the animals eating each
Yeah.
other.
Especially
Oh,
the
gosh. Oh, the
shark eating a
gorilla and the
gorilla.
shark. Oh.
Eagle just picking up a lamb.
Yeah. I mean, hey, they do get pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what bird I was reading about, but it had like I think 2 meter wing radius.
Oh, Jesus.
Albatross.
Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe those weird cranes, like the ones that people think are the Mothman. You know the ones.
Nope, that's the Mothman. Believe the conspiracies.
Oh, you on your Mothman thing again.
The Simpsons Index, brought to you by the Mothman. Believe.
Or a woman.
Ooh. She didn't mean that, Mr. Mothman.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking wacky.
Do you have any other wacky moments?
Man, it's not like impossible wacky. It's just so many incidental little wackies. Like, this is Mother Goose. The following car has been broken into.
Yeah, and then the next shot is the Simpsons arriving home with their back window smashed out. Very good.
Yeah.
Oh, Homer trying to get the goat to eat a can. He's a grown adult. Eat it. Eat it.
It's a grown adult.
I love all of Homer's go to your rooms, where at least like, I'm going to my room. That's it. Go to your room. And later on she walks out, slams it all. That's it. Go to your
Go
room.
to your room.
I mean, how can we talk about wackiness without talking about the pig de resistance?
It's just a little dirty. It's still good. It's still good.
It's just a little
It's just
slimy.
a little slimy. It's still good.
good.
It's still good. It's just a little airborne. It's still good. It's still
Just a little airborne.
It's gone. I know.
But to follow up the $1 million gag,
Yeah.
I'll give $1 million to that orphanage when pigs fly.
I love how they're just, not totally baffled into why that happened and the timing of it all. It's like, shall we be going through this? No.
Yeah, they really did just accept it as a sign. It reminded me a lot of, I don't know if you guys have watched Fleabag.
No, I haven't.
Oh, but there's a
too.
very sexy priest in season 2.
There's a combination of words you don't hear often.
Yeah. And Fleabag is talking to him about God. I think she says something like that she doesn't believe in God, and like a painting falls down in the church and he just goes, oh, I love it when he does that. Like just point blank accepting it as a sign from God.
So I found the whackness I wanted to talk about. I really like when Homer's praising Marge's lamb chops. He goes, well, thank you, Homie. You might say the extra ingredient is salt.
Salt.
And also Simpsons broke my brain for any time I add salt to anything. And I'm like, secret ingredient is salt. And also the diagram of hot dogs, which is pigeon, raccoon, and shoe all just getting combined together.
Shoe. I mean, a shoe would technically have animal products in it anyway, right?
Also
with some
true.
glue.
And technically a hot dog would have shoe products in it anyways.
You know, hot dogs get a bad rap in this episode.
Yeah, they really
fair.
do. But then also a good rap because everyone's so enamored with them.
Yeah, one of our previous entries to the sandwich index was just a hot dog with peanut butter.
Oh.
I tried it. It's
And?
not bad. It's just very dry.
Hey, I mean, it is, in a way, a poor man's peanut satay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was like. It's like, it's got a cheap satay appeal about it.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So look, there is so much more wackiness to go over with this one,
There's
not to
so
mention the
much.
fucking thousands of Flanderses that exist.
Oh, yeah. And why? Okay, so it just looks like all Flanders and all Mauds, but Maud is married into the family. And also, there must be some female Flanders out there. So is it just that Flanders have a type that is to look like their relatives? Or do all male Flanders just have a type that is, I want to marry someone who looks like this woman?
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it could be like genetic coding because there was examples of, you know, twins who were separated by birth, and when they caught up with the two of them and had them reintroduced to each other, they had both had the similar looking same named first wife and had a similar looking same named second wife.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know where that's from. It's one of those things I've heard and can't trace. But
Yeah, I think it's always just like sometimes it happens and sometimes you don't. Because sometimes you see people like, oh, wow, you really have a type. Or like, oh, you know, like you kind of have like dated your dad or mum or whatever. But then sometimes it's just like so polar opposite that you're like, rules don't matter. I don't fucking know. Whatever.
pretty much like, this doesn't make sense to me, but you seem happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All 1,000 Flanders, all extremely happy. All except the one who was just charmed.
Well, yeah, clearly
a
some of
googly
it is
doogly.
learned behaviour because
Yeah.
Sir Lord Thistlethwaite Flanders does not have the diddlyitis.
It reminds me of that guy who was trying to pass for a cowboy in one of the Treehouse of Horror. Goes, sure, I'm a cowboy. Yippee whippy. So yeah, so much more wackiness to go over. But how about the heart of this episode? Did y'all feel the bumps?
Of course we did. Especially right at the end with, you know,
Yeah.
Apu singing, you know, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club
Maybe
Band.
I'm amazed. I mean, if you were like that song alone is very beautiful. But yeah, this episode is really, really good for getting down to the heart. Like it just, it is high stakes stuff. You know, like Homer and Lisa are fighting big time about this, and like Lisa's so conflicted that she's like almost willing to go back on her beliefs and eat meat again just to kind of assuage everyone. Like that's big. Those are big character moments.
Well, especially because, like, I can't imagine how frustrating that must be on a social level because, like, I see it with my brother who's also vegetarian and, like, going out to dinner, there's just, like, little things, like, where my dad will, like, investigate the menu for him first to see if there's any vegetarians options. And he's like, oh, you got this here. And it's like, it can go both ways where there's a lot of teasing, but then there's a lot of, like, overcompensating. Do you get that a bit,
Yeah.
Ellen, or...?
Yeah, no, totally. Like, okay, so my family's Italian, so that means they absolutely do not get it. And even though
Yeah.
I've been vegetarian for like maybe 4 or 5 years at this point, like my nonno was still trying. Like, he's figured out now that I can eat eggplant, and thus he's always buying eggplant for me. Anytime I go over, he's
Eggplant's
always
good.
got spare eggplant because, like, he can't quite figure out what is vegetarian, but he knows eggplant definitely is. And so it's very sweet. But like, I know before he's made me chicken, just have to like go, no, that's meat. And he's like, what? Even chicken? And it's like, what do you mean even chicken? Yeah, and when I went to Italy to visit family, that was a big fucking nightmare because Italy does not have a big vegetarian culture, as you can probably guess. I mean, my relatives even took great pains to point out to me. They were like, oh, that was a vegan restaurant. It closed down.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, the one vegan restaurant in town that closed down because no one went there. So it's just like a bit tricky because even though most people eat vegetarian meals, like it's very rare that you would eat meat for every single course of the day.
Yeah.
But yet, when someone goes, oh, you're vegetarian, it's like their mind just kind of like blips out and they go, oh, can I make you quiche? No, that has bacon in it. And you're just like, you could not put the bacon in it. And they're like, no, that can't be right.
Don't follow the recipe, the sacred rituals passed down from Chef Boyardee.
Yeah. And so like it was pretty instrumental in me learning how to kind of cook for myself because it was a bit like, it could be a bit isolating, like sitting down to different meals or like, I remember I had like a dinner party and I made everything vegetarian and my mum's like, oh, you're not going to make everything vegetarian, right? What about the meat eaters? And I'm like, fuck the meat eaters. This is my party, damn it. Yeah, but you do sometimes get that friction between not just kind of conforming. And then sometimes you feel bad about it as well. Like, yeah, you don't want to like put people out by being like, oh, sorry, I'm vegetarian, and like you feel like an asshole, and like, yeah, it can be tricky.
Well, no, that's what I thought this episode did really well is sort of demonstrating a few sort of social situations that you'd run into, especially because David Merkin, the season 5 and 6 showrunner who was on the Simpsons staff, recently went vegetarian, and so they were sort of drawing from his experience a lot in writing this episode as well. Yeah.
It really shows.
Oh, yeah, this has such a personal touch to it as well. And I think, all that bubbling tension with Lisa then just exploding at Homer, like, you can really feel every little jab that she received in the episode leading up to that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they show most of them. Which has that little flashback of, some of the things we've seen throughout the episode, like Cat and Homer wrestling over the chop, and some of the things we didn't see, like Kent Brockman just hoeing into a turkey leg mid-broadcast.
But like, yeah, sometimes it can like veer the other way as well. Cause like we'll have family barbecues and my, mom or my aunt will just be like so oversensitive where they're like, oh my God, have you got enough to eat or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, we've made like all of these roasted veg. We've got like 3 salads plus like some extra thing that's just for me. And they'll just still be like, oh God, but where are you getting your protein? If I hear that again, I'm going to fucking, no.
Yeah, these are all things that my brother have said as well. Like, and because like we've had that as well, where we've had like family barbecues, and then like everyone will over cater to him, and then explain to him like he's hard of learning. And we've got this salad for you, and we've also done the potatoes without bacon. And,
yeah, but then you also get, sometimes you get caught out. Like I felt for Lisa in the cafeteria because sometimes there are instances where it's like, even at my job, like usually I pack breakfast, but if I forget, my only options in the store are like one single vegetarian like spinach and ricotta roll. Or sometimes we get sandwiches in, and when we do, there is one type of veggie thing that we stock, which is egg and lettuce.
Again, we're back to egg salad sandwiches.
Yeah, but if they don't have any of that, I'm fucked. And so, like, her getting just the bun from the cafeteria, I'm like, oh, I've been there.
It's rich in bunly goodness.
2 independent thought alarms in one day. Oh, my God.
Remove all the coloured chalk from the classrooms.
Yeah. Oh, and I have to say, Lisa is not selling the gazpacho. Like, there are good vegetarian options out there. And gazpacho is delightful, but by just saying it's tomato soup served at a chilled temperature sounds disgusting. It's much more of like a salsa. Come on, Lisa.
And then just the extra insult of like the next shot being Santa's little helper drinking out of it.
Yeah.
It's good to see that the dog isn't picky.
No, you snuck in a gazpacho reference in Dave Plus One, our web series, didn't you?
Oh, I did? I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like something I'd do.
Yeah, remember Elle walks away and Zach steals her gazpacho
Oh,
and then spits it out all over his beard while holding on to Dave for dear life.
It's because gazpacho is a funny word.
It is a funny word.
Dave Plus One, now available on YouTube. But did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Were the characters behaving like themselves?
You know it did.
Yes. Everyone was their delightful, silly selves, but also like, yeah, it's nice to see the characters come up against each other with some real friction. Like,
Yeah.
you know, that is not just going to be solved right away.
Yeah, and I found a very satisfying way out, much like the last episode, where, you know, Lisa talks to Apu and mentions that she eats cheese, and Apu is horrified. She's like, oh, you must think I'm a monster. Yes, I do think that.
Yeah.
But then he goes on to be like, I've learned to influence people without badgering them and just live and let. It's like Paul's song, live and let live.
Yeah.
Let's live and let die.
Whatever, it had a good rhythm.
Yeah, it's a very much like whatever
Yeah.
approach, but I mean it doesn't feel cynical. Like I'm about to shit on South Park again, but I feel like most South Park episodes are like, whatever, you're both dumb, and this doesn't feel like that. It's no, sometimes you just have to do you know, and it comes at it through the emotional way, which I feel like, yet again, to dig on South Park, it's a much more intellectual way, which is like intellect does not solve everything. People are people.
People are people,
emotion,
and they're always going to have feelings, and feelings
Exactly.
aren't logical because they're feelings.
Yeah, it's just like the thing of someone explaining to you, like, oh, you're just upset because blah, blah, blah. It's like, yes, I know I'm upset. Knowing I'm upset does not make me less upset. You
No
know?
one goes, of course, that's the root of it all. I'm fine now.
Aha. Therapy over.
Goodbye.
But no, you're right. It's like way more optimistically centrist than South Park's, yeah, like you said, often cynically centrist.
Yeah.
And in the way that you can still evolve the characters and make them still feel like the characters. And to the point, I think it actually surprises some people to know that Lisa, didn't become a vegetarian until the 7th year of the show.
Yeah.
Like, it's something that we associate so deeply with her. And, like, same with her being a Buddhist to me. Like, it felt like it happened much earlier in her development. But, yeah.
Yeah.
So, it felt like a Simpsons. We know it did. But would you watch it again?
Yes.
Nice harmonies. And
Yeah.
I'd watch it again. And if I want to watch it again, I think about what playlist this goes in. And just an update. No, this does not go into the Nibbles playlist.
Yeah, true.
Aw, boo.
Sometimes we're 2 out of 3, but references to the Beatles. So put this in with Barbershop Quartet, where we've got George Harrison.
Oh, the
And
episode
Ringo Starr.
Yeah, where she paints Ringo. So yeah, of course, I forgot. Guest stars of the episode, Paul and Linda McCartney. This was the last living Beatle to appear on The Simpsons.
Oh, wow.
What do we think of their performance?
I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
Silly. It's just silly. I enjoyed it because it was just like, it wasn't a big song and dance of them.
Yeah, in fact, they did a
even
big misdirect on it as well. Like, would you like to hear
Yeah.
a song? Sure, and then take it, Apu.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just their gleeful, like they're so happy, like, and joining in with a Pooh song. It's just
Hanging out in Apu's garden in the shade.
Yeah, and similar to Richard Gere, it's because Lisa ended up going to them rather than, well, Lisa, why
Yeah.
don't I go talk to your father and solve all your problems? It's just
absolutely, like
you know.
they're just being them. And
Yeah.
It's just like you've stumbled upon them in their natural habitat.
Yeah. And we were talking about colored contacts before as well. Yeah, these, like, I think this is the only time where Simpsons have done, like, alternate pupil colors for a character.
Yeah,
it
which
looks
weirdly
strange. It looks strange. I'll say it.
And the other fun fact I have about this episode, and also joining the last episode, get on with it, Elliot. So Paul agreed to do this appearance if Lisa's vegetarianism could be maintained throughout the rest of the show. And
Nice.
unfortunately, The Simpsons broke their promise in season 24 when Lisa got into eating insects.
Oh, I mean that.
In the show's defense, that episode's not very good.
No.
But also, I feel like maybe that would be a step towards environmentalism. Maybe.
Yeah.
They play it up for those sort of things, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I
okay.
also feel like there are plenty of vegetarians that have swatted flies or mosquitoes or something, either out
yeah.
of reflex or just pure,
But she's also a Buddhist.
well, shut up.
which was Richard Gere's stipulation for being in the episode. If he could include a free to bet,
Nice.
shout out for free to bet. Oh my God.
Shout it out.
If Lisa's Buddhism could be maintained through the rest of the show, and they got sort of the tenets of Buddhism right.
Okay.
Those are very cool things to like put in your celebrity request. Like they literally changed the Simpsons canon, which is very powerful in pop culture to like know that you did that.
Yeah, and totally not in a way that felt like egregious catering to a guest star either. These are welcome changes.
No, I think it's mainly because maybe the last two guest stars that we've had have had like a sense of humor about playing themselves. It's all very like subdued. They're not trying to be super funny. You know, they've got a kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge approach to them being on the show. Like the whole like very shoehorned, you know, my wife even has a range of vegetarian products.
I'm sure he doesn't want to have to talk about, we weren't satisfied with the other products on the market. But I think also it works so well to its benefit in the sense that had Lisa reverted back to eating meat, it would have felt so hollow.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Like it would have been like, oh, I see now I was being a grade A moron. No, so much better that she doesn't.
No,
Yeah,
definitely.
totally.
But yeah, just lastly on Paul and Linda McCartney, and I love that Paul, again, could have a wink and a nod and a joke at himself with, if you play Maybe I'm Amazed backwards, you get a recipe for a ripping lentil soup. And because they play Maybe I'm Amazed over it, they got Paul McCartney to record a ripping recipe for lentil soup, and they put it on backwards over that.
I could hear the like
Yeah.
the weird
he also
backwards
do?
speaking, but I was just like, I wonder what that recipe is.
They actually included the actual record on one of the bonus features of the Season 7 DVD. And so, yeah, you listen to it forwards and Paul McCartney gives you a ripping recipe for lentil soup. And at the end, he goes, by the way, I'm actually alive.
Nice one.
Very good. Any other playlists?
Oh, I forgot about this. How about drive-in theater marquees? Because there's a double feature, I Spit on Your Grave, and I Thumb Through Your Magazines.
That was hilarious. I was so focused on I Spit on Your Grave, mainly because it's like, you know, a horror icon.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was like, where's the fucking joke here? And then I read Thumb Through Your Magazine.
I also just like that, you know, Apu has this calm, tranquil garden that also maybe sometimes he steals movies.
Yeah.
Hey, why not?
It's a good balance, yeah.
Make it work for you.
Oh, definitely. Another playlist that I wanted to put this in was just fucking classic Ralph.
Yeah.
Sleep, that's where I'm a Viking.
Puts his head down.
Yeah.
I can't believe I used to go out with you.
Oh, the burn Ralph.
Wow.
Also, he thinks they went out.
Yeah. Oh, and a bit more James L. Ralph. Miss Hoover, the worm went in my mouth and then I ate it. Can I have a new one? Oh, and tying both these episodes together as well. Homer's breakfast habits, yeah. He wants
Oh,
to
God.
dunk
Butter up his bacon and...
dunk sausage in maple syrup. Oh, no, enjoy a
No.
glass of maple
No,
syrup.
yeah, he just wants a glass of maple syrup.
There's actually an episode that I hated where Homer's doing like a wine testing, but it's for maple syrup. And like, you know, swishing it around in his mouth, but it's so sappy and thick that it takes ages.
Yeah, I remember that being a good bit that just goes for too long.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
we're near the end. Ellen, what would you like to change about this episode?
Oh, I don't know that I would.
Way to steal my answer.
Yes,
you wouldn't
sorry.
change
I just can't think of. All I can think of is just like extra good things that I like. No, I just love this episode. I don't think I would change anything.
Well, that's my thoughts on that. How about you, BT?
Man, it's very simple. You don't win friends with salad 7 minutes straight.
How dare you, BT?
It's that simple. Just the rest of the episode, you don't win friends with salad.
You don't win friends with salad. To
I
be
wonder-
fair,
Just slowly progressing. So Marge joins and they keep going, and like the cat and the dog join, and then Mo, and then Barney, and just keep going. Mr.
All of
Burns is there.
Springfield circling
Yeah.
around
On the line
Lisa.
for days. No, don't change a damn thing. Oh, you know what? Someone needs to make like a snake-like game, but it's the conga line. If you don't make friends with Sally, you just pick up more and more people as you go.
Oh, but they still do it in like Nokia level graphics, so it's blip,
Yeah.
blip, 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 blip,
blip,
blip,
blip,
blip,
blip,
blip.
blip, blip, blip.
All right, we're here. Ellen, do you have any more notes?
Oh, yes. Why does it talk like a lamb? Lisa imagining the voice of the earthworm that she's about to dissect.
I love it as well, like this reoccurring bit of her fantasy and like illustrating her internal conflict. I think it's very well done.
I will say, though, when the lamb in her imagination looks face on, it's terrifying.
Yeah. It's really simple as well. Like, like chicken breast, like the cutting the meat out of the animal and kind of going, where would that actually come from? It's a really great diagram of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no. Oh, sorry. Force of habit. Lisa, no.
Oh, it's so good. Like, especially like with all the drama of those moments, all those little jokes that they keep. It's so good. It's such a good episode.
Yeah.
Goddamn.
I mean, even the itchy and scratchy misdirect of, oh man, I always forget which one's which. Which one's the cat?
Scratchy's the catchy.
Scratchy. Okay. Oh, nice. Thank you. So you have Scratchy eating his own stomach.
Yeah.
But the thing that kills him is the bill.
Yeah.
The bill for the meal is $100. Isn't it $100? Which is not that much.
Back in 95 money. Oh,
yeah,
boy.
and cat dollars.
Man. Yeah, in cat dollars.
It's a high conversion rate.
Oh, gosh.
Their economy is in the toilet.
How about you, BT? Any other notes?
Yeah, of course. I do like Lisa. Oh, sorry, but fuck me.
Force of habit.
Yeah, pretty much. I do like how Homer calls Lisa a know-nothing know-it-all.
Yes.
It's a good little...
Oh, and that delivery. I don't need any serving suggestions from you. Oh,
You barbecue wrecking know-nothing know-it-all?
fuck, I love that argument. It's so good.
Yeah. Wow, a secret staircase. But what if someone wants a non-alcoholic beer? You know, it's never come up.
Take that non-alcoholic beer,
Yeah.
of which we have 2 in our fridge that have been there for months now.
It's a huge market now, man. It's weird.
Really?
Well, not
Is
since the
it?
apocalypse.
Yeah.
But
right.
ever since Han released their 0.0, we can't keep it on shelves. It's
Wow.
been going like crazy. Yeah,
Really?
I mean, it's good for a non-alcoholic beer, but it's still a non-alcoholic. I don't
Yeah,
get.
you still have
Just
to have
drink
that.
Pepsi Max, available now. My last note is just the sweetheart of giving Lisa a veggie back ride back home.
Oh, that's really
nice.
cute.
And that is all my notes. Elliot, do you have more notes?
Yeah, I love the heart moment of when Lisa says she's going to marry a carrot. I think that'll be a very lovely union.
I'm looking forward to that episode. They haven't done that yet, have they?
No,
Like
no.
a jump forward where Lisa marries Carrot.
Divorces Millhouse in the future and
Yeah,
marries
Marries
a
a
carrot.
carrot.
Yeah.
Zia has a reliable stepdad now.
Yeah, who is Zia's dad? Do we have...
Millhouse.
Oh, it was? Okay.
That's where she got the blue streak in her hair.
That's disappointing.
Isn't it just?
It's natural.
Could it be a carrot?
My other notes. It'd be nice to get to know our neighbours outside of a courtroom setting.
Yes.
And my final note is help yourself to this tripe.
I love all the kids like, yay! Even though it looks uncooked.
People love tripe, apparently.
It's like tripe is just like random organs, right?
To my
It's
understanding,
intestines, yeah.
Oh.
The poopiest part of the meat.
Well, why don't they call them tripey crimpies? More people would buy them.
The crimp's natural.
It's time to rank this thing. Ellen, your turn to go first.
Oh, man. Like, if I was a bit hesitant to give our previous episode platinum, this is just like a no-brainer for me. It's so wonderful. It's so heartfelt. It actually, like, changed me as a person because I was just kind of like, when I first watched it as a kid, it kind of made me come to terms with meat as animals and kind of what that means. I mean, I didn't become a vegetarian until much later, but it did really open up my eyes and kind of encourage me to think further about things I just accept verbatim. Yeah, it's a wonderful episode for Lisa and Homer, which is something I really like to see. It's a sweet pairing.
BT.
Yep, cubic zirconia. This is just a really personal episode and really funny. There were so many times where I pre-laughed out loud because like, oh shit, I forgot this was coming and was just delighted when I realized. Yeah, it's heartfelt. It's really sentimental. I like that it sticks entirely on Lisa. We don't have a B story that we cut around to, and it's not... You know, so many of the newer episodes start with one character and end up the Homer show, but I love that this stays with her and her journey, and yeah, it's a fantastic episode. Cubic zirconia from me.
Yeah, it's like the Lisa episode featuring Homer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forgot. I meant cubic zirconia. I said platinum. I'm a dum-dum.
We know what you mean.
You knew what I meant. The highest rating, please.
Yep, the highest rating by one of the least valuable precious metals, but it's a precious metal to us because...
It's a reference.
And I don't think it's a metal. I don't know anything
No.
about
It's
jewelry.
not. No.
It's a stone.
Precious stone. All right.
Crystal or whatever, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, and of course I'm giving this a cubic. I think it's amazing how this episode opens up a dialogue. Again, ironically, it's like, sit down and watch this film. It's opening up a dialogue. And gives, people a way to relate to the idea of not eating meat, which again, echoing your point, Ellen, for 95, this would have been a very new thing. So
Yeah.
it's even more commendable from that, and that it holds up so well after, 25 years after the fact is just
Yeah.
remarkable. Easy cubic zirconia.
Yeah. And you get a cracking recipe for lentil soup.
Exactly.
It's
Available
worth
now in
the
the bonus
price of
features.
admission.
Indeed. But Elliot, do you realize this is a unanimous cubic? Do you know what that means?
What does it mean, BT?
It means this has won the Montgomery Burns Award for Outstanding Achievement in the Field of Excellence, the new rank coined by our friends over at Pods in the Kia Springfield. Like and subscribe.
Seamless.
Yeah.
Absolutely seamless.
It's a new bit where only just discovered what we can call a unanimous ranking, and by gum, Nick has done it again and give us a name for it. So, yes, unanimous cubic. It's gotten the Simpsons Index Award for Outstanding Achievement in the Field of Excellence. I can't believe I nailed it. And it'll be of course, and then I fuck up this bit by not having an open phone.
Sorry. I was really excited. I thought we finally get to do, we got to do the bit. The new bit.
And it'll be the 8th unanimous cubic from Season 7. It'll be joining Who Shot Mr. Burns Part 2, Radioactive Man, Bart Sells His Soul, Bart the Fink, that's where Krusty gets in trouble with the tax and the IRS burger and all that, Homer the Smithers, The Day the Violence Died with Chester A. Lampwick and his Golden House and Rocket Car, 22 short films about Springfield, and Abe Simpson and his grumbling grandson in The Curse of the Flying Hellfish.
Such a good
Fuck
episode.
Season 7 rules.
Fucking hell. That's a lot of great content.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then,
Wow.
the rest of Season 7 is like dull cubics and shiny golds. It's such a good season.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's about time we get out of here. Ellen, why don't you tell the fine folks at home or wherever they're listening to this what you're doing over at
They're
Baby...
listening at home.
Oh, yeah. What you're doing at Baby Beard Media.
Why, thank you for that seamless segue. Yep. Follow us at Baby Beer Media. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube, where we've actually been launching a new stream of Let's Plays. It's something we're really pushing at the moment. There's a wonderful series of me and Chris playing Hatterful Boyfriend, which is a bird dating simulator. Watch it. Devour it. It is fun.
It's so funny. I love it.
I'm so glad, because it does kind of feel like I'm leading Chris down a path of insanity. And maybe I am, but for good content. Yes, we also have podcasts. So Shut Up and Take My Podcast, which is our Futurama podcast, where we pit episode against episode in a bloody glorious gauntlet battle for your entertainment. We're trying to find out what's the best episode of Futurama, and we are almost at the finish line before we get into the gauntlet. So it's going to get tense, so you got to be there for that. And yes, our Roll to Cast podcast, which is a role-playing podcast where we do seasons of different role-playing games. Our first season is Cyberpunk 2020, and our second season, which is releasing now, is Vampire the Masquerade. I think that's it. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I'm
like-
absolutely loving Vampire at the moment. Yeah, your character, I almost called her Amelie.
Isabel.
That was like an NPC
Yeah.
from the last one.
Oh, we do love Amelie from Cyberpunk 2020. Yeah, Isabel's been really interesting to play, and especially doing the French accent.
No, it's been great. There's like a lovely amount of tension in the show, and Chris is the DM. Oh, he's building like the suspense.
He's so
perfect.
brutal, and I hate him.
It's good you're getting a revenge from him in Hatterful Boyfriend.
Yes, finally. Now he's on my turf.
All right, well, yeah, that about does it for the Simpsons Index for today. Again, thank you so much, Ellen.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, what a wonderful time we've all had together.
Oh, we've grown, we've learnt things.
It's the friends we make on the way.
And BT, thank you.
Ahoy.
And I've been your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill. That's all the mustard in the house!
Then we're not leaving.
Yeah. Yes, don't leave the house.
Bring us more mustard. Thank you for listening to the Simpsons Index podcast, which is also an online spreadsheet available at thesimpsonsindex.com. You can chat to us online at facebook.com/thesimpsonsindex or at Simpsons Index on Twitter and Instagram. And now please stay tuned for the bonus scenes.
That's why I dress in evening gowns all the time,
Yeah.
especially to the service station.
Yeah, hey, you can bring some elegance to that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, every goddamn day of my life, I'm bringing elegance to it. It's really unappreciated.
Can't spell elegance without Ellen.
I was about to say make a pun.
Oh, probably.
Elegance.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Fucking slammed it.
And before we move on, is that reputation justified?
Is that reputation
Patient
justified?
Wink.
I know, it feels like it needed. Just a
I
cap
felt
it
like
off.
we were all holding off and just waiting to see who wins
You know, I was holding up
first.
and like, it feels wrong to take it, but at the same time, it feels like it needs it. Wink.
Hey, winks for everyone.
And Dennis Perkins of the AV Club.
Dennis the Wildcard Perkins, what does he have to say?
He gave it a B-. This is roughly where we landed on it,
Alright.
too. Oh, I've pulled the wrong quote. Fuck it. I'm cutting it from the episode. We're going long anyway. All right.
I was going to say, we didn't see much of Academy Award winner Bart Simpson this episode.
Well, they should, because he is an Academy
I
Award
know.
winner.
He's won an Academy Award.
That's canon.
Yeah.